G'day and welcome back to my workbench. Now, look at this. Mr. Mousemuffin Designs. This is the turtle. Now, in part 1, I reviewed this 3D printed kit by my mate Craig. Now, in part 2, I'm going to build up the interior. Oh, look at that. There's a lot going on in there. It's a pretty complex kit. There's lots of stuff going on. And, gear levers and things and stuff. I don't know, there's all kind of widgets and things. It just about drove me mad building that, but it does come up well, and I'll go through some of the pitfalls and suggest a couple of changes that need to be made. Trouble is, by the time that you get your kit and you've seen this video, Craig's probably already updated the manual and done a few things. But I'm going to call it as I received it. So I'll just sort of talk about things that I've seen. Craig, no doubt, will be right on the ball, have everything done, make me look like a complete wombat. That's okay, I don't mind. All right, so would you like to see how this is built? I know I would. Roll the music. I have all my parts ready. These are the ones, the latest versions that Craig gave me. Instructions are going to be on the iPad because it's colour. I mean, I could print it out, but it'd be all black and white. And I would really lose, because I've only got a laser printer. I mean, really, I don't do much hard copy stuff anymore. I've been paperless for like 20 years. Can you believe it? Now, yes, step 1, no glue. No, that part. All right, step 1, we start building some of the infrastructure for the bottom of the turtle. So we're starting at the turtle's anus. The only way from there is up. Yes, that's set the tone of this video, and it can only be downhill from here. I think I've mixed my metaphors. Anyhow, doesn't matter. Okay, let's get on with it. Starting at step 1, we need this little grilled base part, which is purple in the drawing. That's not the colour we're going to paint it. No, it's just how Craig has done this identification. We're also going to need 3 other pieces here, parts 2, 3 and 4, which are 2 side ribs and a little cross member thing, which a lot of stuff's going to hang off later, so we have to be very careful. They're nicely numbered, 2, 3 and 4, so it won't be too hard to know which one is which. All right, let's get on with it. I have all the little resin parts cut off, the sprues for a better word, and that wasn't too bad. As you can see, I scraped them clean rather than sanded them. I will check for fit and make sure there's no little bumps get in the way, but for the moment these are internal parts. All the edges can't be seen, like all the parts where there were joins are behind and pressed against the inside of the turtle. They'll never be seen. So I've done a rudimentary cleanup without having to go through all that nasty sanding and sticking on a bloody mask. I'm sick of it. Anyhow, one thing I noticed is these dry fit together okay. I did that, although it's fairly loose. But this part, if you look closely, there's a circular hole there and a circular hole there. It's very hard to see. You see it there in silhouette? Right? On this side, squares. On this side, 2 round things. And I thought, I wonder if that's important because this fits both ways. Like, as far as I can tell, this was interchangeable. And there was no indication on the diagrams about these round things. So you have to skip through, and Craig, you might want to fix this in your instructions, to step 13, where, surprise, surprise, these little red arseholes here, they go into the round holes. See? That's where they click in. So if you hadn't have set this up correctly, if you accidentally glued it around the wrong way, you don't have your round holes. Admittedly, you could then drill them out of the resin, but you could smash the whole thing because resin being the fragile sort of stuff that it is, it does tend to shatter sometimes if you're unlucky. And with my luck, I would have shattered it. So those round holes have got to be on the side which is just this one. So that's the plain one. The other side is got all the bits and pieces, and it's the one that's a bit more complicated. It's got wizards. So look back at our instructions, all the way back to number 1, step 1. So the side opposite to the fiddly one, right? So there's the fiddly one, for want of a better word. So this is the smooth one. So the smooth one's part 3. Okay, fiddly one part 2, smooth one part 3, and part 1 is the thing in conjunction. So part 1 must have its roundy holes, which are just about invisible, over there. Oh, and look, note locational holes. You don't want to put this on backwards. There you go. RTFM, Harry. RTFM. Okay. For dickheads like me, Craig, I think you probably want to put that in bold, because it didn't really, I didn't understand. I thought they were the holes like in the side of here or something. Yeah. You know that there's round holes there. I'm just seeing a whole grid. So that's just Dummies 101. So maybe a little diagram or something where it's quite obvious there's round holes. Because honestly, I can't see round holes in the thing. Okay? So, that is something to watch out for. If you don't get those round holes on that side, as Craig has pointed out, but it's ambiguous, that's all I'm saying. If you're not familiar with the kit, you might miss that, as I was about to. Alright, let's glue this sucker together. Now, one thing that's not clear here, at least for a novice like me, well, I mean, I know boats, but not glue. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But he says it should align with the port side. Well, there's no way at this stage to know what is port and what is starboard. You've only got two symmetrical hulls, sort of halves of round tubs. I mean, there's no port and starboard here, Craig. But, I mean, you can figure it out because there's a couple of ways. One, if you have a look at the picture, there's not much there, so not much on that one. There's lots of squiggly things in that one. All right, okay, good. The other thing is only one of the sides actually has the indentation that you can put this into. So if you went for the other one, there's nothing to put it into. So it is kind of obvious once you get there. But if you're freaking out going, God damn it, what side's port? What side's starboard? I don't know. Quick, somebody tell me. Okay. And myself, being someone that builds a lot of ships, I go, oh, okay, which is the port side? Oh, how do I tell? And I mean, I'll be looking for rudders and, bows and things like that. And there ain't none. Okay, so that dry fits in there reasonably well. One thing I find annoying at this stage, and it's just me, is with resin, you don't have the flexibility after you've CA glued it. So in this case, I think you want to get the CA glue on and then use this as a former, get it in there, because I think mine is, I'll get away with it, but it's not quite a perfect fit. But I'll get away with it. So if anything's got to fit into anything, you might want to use it as a former. That's just my guess. Maybe all you resin guys already know this, because I mean, I'm used to using styrene glue or wood glue, where I have some federal time where you can push parts and mangle them, see how they go. Unless, of course, you're a tammy thin person, just whack it on and thump. It's dry in Australian heat. Another thing to watch out for if you've never built 3D printed kits before, and that's, I really haven't. I've put a few parts on, but there's lots of little fine things, right? So, like that. But sometimes you've actually got to cut them away, because if you have a look inside here, there's all these little fine things, right? They're waste. They need to be removed. And there's more little things down here. They need to be removed, okay? So that's something new for me, because I'm used to cutting sprue off, so I can figure out I need to cut the stuff off the outside. Well, what I have to do is constantly look at the drawings, and especially when it came to the internals, I had to go all the way through here to, where did I have to go? Here we go. Step 14 and 15 finally let me know what this should look like. So that straight away indicated to me, well, here's this thing, but there's no dingly danglies there. And we have dingly danglies here. Obviously, they need castrating. Yes, we need a neuter this little bastard. Alright, so there's probably other little things like those little fandangly bits off there, but it's not indicated. And there's lots of other little fandangly bits here, which is all part of that 3D printing process. But if I have a look at the drawing, there it is. It probably would help to have some clear actual drawings of the parts. Spray mat, for example. So I know what things should actually look like, because I know, Craig, you know, and maybe a lot of you 3D guys would know. You go, oh yeah, that's just a thing you pull off. I'm used to that. I mean, I just vaguely know that all these little arms here, they'll come off. But even then, I'll be checking with the model to go, oh, hang on, does it really need to? Do I need all that? I mean, it's like on here. There's these little guys. But I'm identifying those as they are probably waste now, especially when I compare this part to this part. I go, oh yeah, well, everything comes off. But don't trim that bit. So obviously you need to keep that. So, I mean, you have this as styrene as well. I know that you know, I've gone quite exubiously and cut and trimmed things off a part only to find the little bumpy bits that I've carefully shaved off and sanded smooth were actually needed in the kit. And then I've had to actually custom make some and glue them back on the part. So it's just a matter of looking ahead and being very familiar, especially if, like me, you've never built a 3D printed model before. All right, let's move on. Now you may have noticed I've switched to white wood glue, and it does sound insane, but this actually works. I use Aquatear, Sally's Aquatear wood glue. I use it on photo etch and the whole parts together, the whole plastic parts together. It doesn't melt the part like plastic cement will, because you know, plastic cement basically melts each surface and then they actually bond together, and then the glue literally evaporates away. If you ever used Tamiya thin, well, you put that on, basically it just all evaporates and it just welds a tiny little piece. But Aquatear does stick to just about anything. So for this little arrangement here, I have done that, and I have still got wriggle room. Even after it's set, that will move a tiny bit. So it's not perfect if you want parts to rock solid, lock together and never move again. But here with all this bloody gym pokery, and there's going to be cogs and things and bits and widgets, and I don't know if things are even going to fit together, I've gone to the white wood glue to give myself some wriggle room. Now, I'm having a lot of problem getting exact fit, because Unlike, as I said, plastic glue or cement that will melt parts together, you can often shove something in a hole just by dropping in a little bit of the glue, especially if it's like Rev or Contactor. You can drop it in a hole, push a part in, and it will melt and widen and fit and then basically bond back up again. You don't have any of those luxuries here with this resin stuff and 3D printed parts. The tolerances are incredibly tight. So to get those two little bloody rods there in those holes, well, yeah, I had to file that out. I'm hoping that that is sitting at the correct height and this will all work. We won't know until we start putting it all together, but these are the things I'm noticing. If you're used to plastic kits, like I am, or even wood kits, yeah, you've got to sort of be very careful what you do because things can be final. So we'll see how using the white wood glue goes, if that gives me a bit more flexibility and freedom. Despite carefully measuring out that rod to the 27mm, it didn't really work for me. Plus, I also broke my connections here. So I ended up putting this part back in here just to hold it in place and jig it. And I've had to sort of just feather touch there and feather touch there. What I suggest you do, what might be a better idea, this is what I would do, is rather than cut it to 27, cut it to about 28 or even 20, 28, right? And then it's going to be too long, or even 27 and a half. Then you can slide it into there. So put your little gear wheel on. Don't worry about gluing it in place. Slide it in. The gear wheel will mesh and lock there. It'll go all the way through. Then push it back and CA glue it into there, right? Then you'll be able to, once that's set, slide your gear wheel up, dob of CA glue or white glue, whatever you're using, you're away, dob of glue at this end, and then just simply come in very carefully and trim it off. That might be a better method because, quite frankly, mine is only just fitting into the hole there and just fitting the hole there. And as you saw, I used my measurer. I mean, my measurer could be out by a tiny bit, but we've basically got probably 3mm there. Wasn't out 3mm, right? Probably 4. That's going to be 2mm wide. 2mm wide. So, yeah, if you're putting that rod in, just make it a bit longer. Poke it in, make sure it's actually going to fit. I mean, you could even basically pencil mark it and trim that off the model if you're worried about smashing the resin. But, yeah, sorry, mate. 27mm didn't cut it for me. Well, that's got us to the end of section 8, and it's coming together quite well. The parts fit fairly well. If anything, they're positive. Like there's no room for any scrappiness. You know, what I mean is they're exactly set to fit because I mean they've been CAD designed, which means if there's any tiny little bits of burring or little bits of those sprue formers left on there, you've really got to get them off. Otherwise, things don't fit. Case in point being at the back here, I'm still having trouble getting that to push into there. It's just not happy about it, but I'll figure that out. Now, on this treadmill type thing, there's that connects up onto the crank. There's another lower part of the crank here where Mr. Muffins wants us to add. Can you see those 3 half circular little fellas? There you go. Okay. And we won't be doing that. You can't really see them. Like it's going to go hidden in there. It's to replicate what's on top of there, but it's hidden down there, around there. Look, you're never going to see it. Not on mine anyway, the way I've built it. And even he admits in instructions it's very fiddly. And I've already had enough fiddliness for one day, thank you. So I'm going to proceed on now, and we've got some photo etch to add. So that'll be fun. Finally get these little gear wheels on, which I've been looking forward to doing. They should be a hoot. All right, let's get on with that. There's only a few more stages left to do, and then the whole interior is basically done. Well, that's got us to step 16, and that is basically halfway through. Although, Craig, you haven't numbered the steps after about 24. You might want to go back and look at that. They're just things. Nothing's numbered. But I notice there's over 30. That will mate to there, and that's how it's going to be. It'll all disappear. Luckily, this does come off for the display model so that you can have a look at that lovely interior. But I'm basically there. That is all done. And I'm close. I'm not as good as how Craig built it. My fat fingers just can't do this sort of stuff. This is too small. If he's going to do one at twice this scale, twice as big, then that would be a little bit better for my sanity. This is the limits of the kind of filliness that I can do. But I've got that far. I notice things I've missed when I put it on the camera, and I'll go back, and there's quite a number of parts to tidy up, because quite frankly a lot of this is just all dry fit. That whole cradle assembly still comes out. These little pumps here come out. There's a few things that I've just popped in there, so I'll be able to take them out and detail paint them. That's what we'll do next time, because we've basically completed the interior. I'm going to start painting things, and hopefully that'll bring it to life. But look, it's a lovely little model on its own. So yep, turtles. If you enjoyed this video, then please click that like button. Comment by all means, just be respectful about it. And subscribe to my channel. Then you can see these videos all the time. And you click that little bell notification. It goes ding, and they'll tell you when I've got a new video out. And if you'd like to see my videos early and advert free, and plus get a whole lot of background information, perks, and all kinds of stuff like an upcoming live show, then think about joining YouTube members or becoming a patron. It all helps me out and gives me that little extra boost so that I can produce videos to do things like this. Alright, well that's it. Next time we're painting, but for now that is the interior of this turtle done. So it's goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini.